I think it's hysterical that a lot of my questions from last chapter have been answered in this new chapter of DanDaDan. However, I would have never expected that the answers that I got would have been this out of left field. But again, I guess that's what I should have expected at this point. Now that we are finally finished with this human typhoon battle, which I was really worried going into this chapter that we were going to enter some kind of phase 2, and we did not. So thankfully, we will be moving on and actually getting to Shimane and getting to the Uchide no Tachikaze hammer that could potentially solve all of the curses of Zuma's blindness, Momo's smallness, and Dyke's oldness. And weirdly enough, Dyke is who this chapter kind of centers around entirely, as with the human typhoon mostly being an anomaly, just some kind of freak yokai of nature that we happen to run into inconveniently, there's no real major backstory to go into in the fight. And of course, with DanDaDan, we have to have some kind of emotional value in every fight. So who do we give this nice, awesome flashback to? A couple chapters earlier, we gave a nice little piece of context for Raya, I believe his name is, the other delinquent that has been accompanying Zuma and Dyke this entire time while they're on the plane. And we learned about Zuma stepping up for all of the people who didn't really have much going on for them. They didn't have parents that cared about them. They didn't, they were kind of outcast across the world, and they were potentially getting into drugs and bad things. And while Zuma necessarily didn't steer them away from petty crime, he did, however, stop them from ruining their lives and going down the paths of addict, all of that terrible things that you can get into while living on the streets. Now we find out that Dyke was actually a little bit more similar to people like Zuma and people like Raya's past than they were willing to believe. Even though Dyke is a young child, even though he looks old as heck, it's revealed that he was actually a bully, and he believes that the Danmanra arc, getting trapped inside the fairy tale card box and getting stuck inside the board game world for most of his life, was the price that he paid for being an entitled little brat. His dad was a pilot and he was very well off, and he believed that because he was going to be set up to be a pilot for the rest of his life, he would be able to look down on people that didn't have their whole life set out for them and weren't nepo babies. And this entire experience is enough for him to realize that the person that he made fun of, who he said would probably just end up as a trash collector, who honestly says the most W comeback ever and goes, hey, you know what? Honestly, garbage collectors make everything clean. So it's actually a pretty good and necessary job. He cooked that fucking man. Hey guys, real quick, if you want to support the channel, make sure you go down to gamersubs.gg/noop and get 10% off your nootropics and energy supplement fix. And we'll get back to the video. Dyke realizing the error of his ways and also being helped by these unlikely people of Zuma and Raya. Zuma even being willing to give Dyke a place to stay while they figured everything out. Unbelievable. This man reveals, for some reason, which also I'm glad that Seiko says something when they actually do get to the cockpit. He reveals that because his dad was a pilot, he has been using and practicing on flight simulators for pretty much his entire life. While he's not a full-on certified pilot, he does have more experience than Psycho does, who is just going based off of the fact that she's an older lady and she's just going to use pure experience just to pilot that plane, which, to be honest with you, I also quite honestly believe that if it was necessary, if there was some kind of hijacking or some kind of the plane was going down, the pilot felt, got knocked out or something, I feel like I would probably be able to step in that cockpit and probably land everything safely, but I've never done flight simulation, so I would have to try it, but we'll have to see. That being said, small side tangent aside, Dyke steps in and is ready to go in and save the plane because Psycho was about to pass out because of the medicine that she's been taking. And it's very unclear what's going on with Seiko too. The medicine is what she explains as the main issue, but it is really having a major effect on her. She did get a lot of injuries fighting the Iron Bull a long time ago, and she didn't really have any time to rest. We went right into the split off arcs right after having everything happen in that one school day. This is all still happening in like the span of 24 hours, this has been about almost 30 something chapters now. That being said, as the typhoon is finally defeated, Dyke is able to pilot the plane and start steering it towards the Tsuchinoko and the people that defeated the human typhoon, because they're still way over off in the sky. And thank God that destroying the human typhoon didn't just immediately stop empty space, right? That would have been very bad. Now, with one of the biggest questions that I had last chapter being, even if we do beat the human typhoon, we still have the Kito family to deal with. That immediately gets resolved almost instantly. And I'm not sure if they're going to like come back and we're still going to have to fight them at the shrine, if they quite literally just got kicked into oblivion and they're not going to come back until another 100 chapters later. It's unclear. And honestly, after going through this whole human typhoon arc, I am just done trying to predict anything that's going to happen. As Momo asks the Kito family to start steering the Tsuchinoko towards Shimane because, hey, we can just all meet up with the plane, they say, absolutely not. We're going to take you back to our headquarters and you are going to get eaten by the Tsuchinoko as human sacrifices, which immediately triggers the evil eye inside of Gigi. Gigi can no longer control the personality, and that just sets the evil eye off. As that is happening on the protagonist side, the Kito family realized that the Tsuchinoko was about to get completely devoured by a giant shark, which karma right there. If anything exists in DanDaDan, we can rest assured that karma is definitely something. And as the giant shark devours pretty much most of the Kito family and the Tsuchinoko, the evil eye reveals itself and then just spear kick, blue lock punts that giant shark into space, probably towards the moon. You know what would be crazy, honestly, if the shark does go into outer space and then the Kito family come back somehow with like more subterranean aliens, or the Tsuchinoko and the shark have merged in space with another. I don't even want to know at this point. But what I will say is the Kito family, not an issue anymore. They're gone, at least for the foreseeable future. So that gets one issue off the table. And now we can actually just get back to the shrine and hopefully cure all of the curses. However, something tells me that there will probably be another problem that arises when we get to the shrine, because pretty much this chapter ends with most of our issues resolved, with Dyke being able to pilot the plane through empty space and Vamola being able to use her little kaiju scanners to actually help them pilot and direct and catch the people, Zuma, Evil Eye, and Momo tries to use her telekinesis for parachuting powers, and that just does not work because, again, it's ethereal matter. It would never work as a parachute, and she can't form wings with them fighting. Thankfully, though, with all of the people's teamwork involved, we are able to get the plane overhead for Evil Eye, Zuma, and Momo to land right on top of it and have Momo grab the plane so that way they can get back onto the plane. And then hopefully once empty space dissolves, everything will quite literally go back to normal and we'll be like 5 minutes away from our destination. We'll be good to go. As of the evil eye being a problem, maybe that's our next threat. Maybe that has something to do with it. Maybe the evil eye will be a disadvantage going to the shrine and will be affected. I don't know. That's quite literally all I have for you as far as what could happen next chapter, because at this point, like I said earlier, I'm done guessing, and we'll just wait and see what happens next week. It is chapter 200 next week, so maybe we'll get something interesting. Might be a very big moment. Maybe that's why we course corrected, because Yukinobu wants to have something major happen on chapter 200. We'll just have to wait and see, guys. But just know that I will definitely be here covering it. And if you enjoyed this kind of content, leave a like and also subscribe so you don't miss any future DanDaDan reviews or videos or any other series that you may read weekly, guys. I will see you all in the next one. Peace.